I got the Viking berry here. I got the Viking berry here. We got the Viking berry here. That was pretty good. Wow. I like that one. Wow. That one's like bursting with flavor. It's like a berry yogurt kind of. I'm waiting, I'm gonna finish this and get my food. So, we got a lot going on in the world. A lot of craziness going on in the world. It's like almost impossible if you live in the United States anyway, but because of everything going on in the world too, even elsewhere, it's nearly impossible to sit and not discuss politics. It's nearly impossible. Like it's the sort of thing where you see this very obvious grab from good versus evil, where you see regular people trying to mask evil intentions and things like that with political agenda, with I vote for this person or something like that. You know, like essentially their agenda or whatever fits with this political agenda, so therefore they align themselves with that, and that's their safe haven, where people it's insane. Just how many people, instead of looking at politics as a way to govern and have systems for things, so that way you can have people pick up your trash and have somebody respond to fires and emergency situations and stuff like that. It's amazing to me that even educated people are not understanding as basic a concept of as if you go against any type of thing that's there for you for basic needs and stuff like that, you're resisting that, and you won't have that in the end either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's it's like seeing a bunch of people that essentially, what you have to realize is that these people get this. They understand it. They're not fools. They do understand it. There's a good portion of those people that are doing it because they want some type of reset. Like the end of Fight Club. If everybody actually watched Fight Club. Like the end of Fight Club. Like essentially there's a lot of people that think this is how to fix something. And it's just not the case. It's just not the case. It's not how you fix things. You don't take something that was working, even all the way up until the 90s and 2000s, and then all of a sudden these really angry people wielding torches and stuff like that are arguably show up, and then the problems arise, and then these are the same people that are saying what the problems are. It's like, well, no, man, like, what you have to realize is that you had these generational issues where people would just kind of blame the politician or blame the person in charge because they didn't really understand how things worked. They just wanted to blame that person or something like that. And eventually, what you have to realize is American politics changed. Democratic people like the Clintons and stuff in the 90s, they started changing their policy points to more Republican, conservative agendas. And this is what led to us having a successful night. It's the reason why Obama was successful too. He worked with Republicans and Democrats. We had these Biden, for the most part too, like we had these politicians that were just, they understood at various times that they have a coveted position that a lot of people are trying to manipulate and gain control over. And they themselves had to gain control of that position so that a shitload of other people didn't. The guy that's doing it right now, no. No, he's very easy to predict and manipulate. Very. Just saying. If you constantly state what you're going to do and you constantly react to things and you constantly always do the same thing, you are easy to predict. get a root beer too. Anyway. Don't look at the policies that didn't work. Look at the policies that worked. Look at the things that they did. Okay, the Clintons balanced the budget. That's why we had the 90s and the early 2000s. That's what they did. Don't look at all the propaganda, all the nonsense. Just stop doing that already. Like, for example, yeah, Donald Trump affected the stock market in a positive way. That is one thing that he did in his first term. It's because he was a billionaire as a president. So the reality of why it happened is different than the real reason it happened of him actually doing something. But at least you could say that's something that happened, okay? Inflation wasn't zero, though. Just stop hanging on to these things that aren't true. Like this is the point, is like that's really it. That's really all that happened during his first term. There's just like a whole ton of negatives. So Biden came in. What did Biden do? Hello. What did Biden do? Biden actually, unfortunately, had to continue a lot of Trump era things and stuff like that he probably didn't really necessarily want to, and had a real tough time, I think, in office trying to get anything done, and he somehow got still some things done. So looking back now, I'll be honest with you, I think he just had so many roadblocks and stuff like that. But anyway, Oh. So, anyway, inevitably, this is why we end up talking politics, is just because that's what everybody talks about. And so the chats are filled with, that's what everybody's thinking about. Is World War III going to happen? All these people in other countries are probably concerned. They're probably worried about Trump. They're probably worried about U.S. politics. They're probably worried about NATO. I have basically been talking about what Trump would do for the past several years and kind of warning other countries and people and stuff. This is why we've gotten the views we've gotten when I talk about things. And I've been kind of oddly very accurate, and I didn't even expect that. I expected to be wrong about some things. Truthfully, I have been pretty right about my predictions about what he would do as soon as he got into office. So, other countries, people watching, do you have to fear the United States in, some sort of sense that, like, are they going to just randomly attack your country? Probably not. Probably not. But here's my thing. What you have to be worried about more is what's going on with Russia. Why I've been saying this for years, and this is what I talked about. I said, why is it so convenient that Putin wants Trump in office, and then Trump gets in office, you know, like, it's very obvious he's, you know, like a country that was just, like, attacked randomly and invaded randomly, and then, like, he's, like, siding with that type of propaganda, and he's siding with Putin and that type of... That makes no sense. The U.S. doesn't side with terrorism. They side with, you know, the country. That's the point. That's what USAID was. So he gets rid of USAID. You know, just like all these things that make Europeans hate us, that make NATO hate us, essentially just make it so that Europe is no longer our friend. Why would you want that? And then at the same time, siding with the country that's trying to spread communism to Europe, all while simultaneously taking our support from Europe. Like, it just looks really a certain way. So you don't start, you really don't, you shouldn't wonder why people are using, you know, the whole, you know, Hitler agenda. You know, where they're seeing the, you know, the same things that happened with Hitler. Where it's literally just the same the same thing. Where, you know, he got elected similarly. He was very well liked, and he just completely changed after getting elected. But, like, now you can't do that. Now they watch what you do, so now it's like, look over here while I do this. So, the real question becomes, what is he distracting you from when he claims that the U.S. is going to own the Gaza Strip? You know, like, this is a very bold statement, ridiculous, bold. It's going to get headlines, it's going to be huge news, and it's going to envelop anything else that's going on. So that's where you really start to pay attention. Really pay attention. What is he doing that he wants you to think we're buying the Gaza Strip, and he wants you to think about that instead? This is just a fucking TV show, man. That's all this is. Yeah, this is what you have to realize. The other guys did a job. He doesn't do a job. He's a celebrity. He just treats it like it's a damn TV show. When Fauci was you know, essentially correcting him and stuff. Do you remember what he said? He was interviewed about this. This had millions of views and stuff. He said, you know, he thought the guy was going to yell at him. He thought Trump was going to chew him out. He's going to, you know, like when he corrected him, you know, the big moment he corrected Trump, and he thought he was going to tear into him and stuff. He said no. He said he went back there, and all he could focus on, he was like, wow, look at these ratings. Can you believe this? They love this. And he wasn't mad. He didn't say anything about it. He was just astonished at the ratings he was getting, because his face was all over the TV and everybody was talking about what he was doing to Fauci and stuff. This is the point, is you have to realize that Donald Trump isn't doing a job to help the country. He's doing a job for ratings. He wants to be in the press. You know, the whole fucking thing with the executive orders. Why is he doing that? I even told you he was going to do that. Remember, that was the big thing. I told you that's what he's going to do. He is going to make that even more. Because he did that for like one day, and it was like this big thing. The picture blew up and stuff. That's his whole thing now. It's just like every day. It's like you're watching. It's like you're in North Korea, and you're watching the forced fed programming of like the brainwashing material that the president Kim Jong-un is forcing you to watch of how he bravely walks over and talks to each soldier and stuff like that and shit. Like this is what this is like. It's like that. It's exactly like that. And what you have to realize is, like, half the shit that they're saying, when you go look it up, and like they hold up the executive order, and then you go look up what the executive order actually does, it's like literally like the opposite. It's not even close to what they say. It's not even, it's literally just like complete, they just lie. So, to the rest of the world, to Europe, to Ukraine, we are still your friend. The rest of the United States, we are not a bunch of jackasses that like or align ourselves with this guy. The majority did not participate in the election. Almost nobody wants to vote anymore. It's a joke. So it's not us. It's the wealthy rich that are controlling all of our assets, essentially, and burying the lower middle class so that it's non-existent. That's what Elon Musk is spending his time doing. Elon Musk is spending his time in office. I promise you, that's all he's doing. Elon Musk has shown me that his goal in office is to bury the middle class, the low middle class. That's Elon Musk's goal. He's also stealing your internet, by the way. I found that out. Do you remember when I randomly said that? I was actually right. Isn't that crazy? Tell me that's... Because, like, I really was right. Isn't that crazy? Look it up. Elon Musk steals your internet. It's true. It's really true. This is why, like, people from Tesla, like, everybody hates him because, like, they know. That's the point. They fucking know. Like, most people, they're not going to have a clue of what that guy gets up to, but they will. And so, like, that's the point, is, like, you know, you see the jackasses talking about the cyber trucks and the Teslas being demolished and stuff like that. Yes, fine. Let's talk about it. But realize that the guy talking about that, he's doing it for clicks. He's just talking about it for clicks. He's the clown. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, once in a while, if you have valid input or something to say, I get that. But if you're just doing it for clicks, this is where me and other content creators, we typically won't get along, is I'll have something valid and useful to say. And they're just doing it for clicks. You're like, whoa, wow, you believe that? That's crazy. Like, that's all they do. They just have a reaction to it. And then these reactions get like millions of views. Who the fuck cares? Who actually watches these things? Like, what is that? You really care what this content creator thinks of this? You care about the reaction that much? I'll be honest with you. I would much rather watch somebody intelligent with that subject react to it. Yeah, like when I see Asmongold react to politics, I'll be honest with you, I actually think it's valid because I think Asmongold is actually really smart. And I think he gets it right most of the time. I don't think he's right about Trump, obviously. We can disagree on that. But I think he's really intelligent, and I think he gets it right most of the time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the good head on his shoulders because he worked at the IRS. So he just knows due process. He understands it. Most people don't. They don't understand government or due process. They think that, like, the government's... This is what people in this country think. They really think it's, like, just... The government's, like, watching you, and they're out to get you. No. The reason you think that is because scammers are actually watching you day in and day out with bots all over the internet. It's everything I've been saying for years. And that's why you think the government is doing that. Because they are. But they're not watching you. They're watching the bots. They're tracking them. And they're not, like, looking through your camera every... No. In the United States, there are laws and provisions against this and stuff like that. The people that do that, they can't really necessarily get away with it without being seized. And trust me, they do get seized at times. They get investigated. Yada, yada, yada. They show credentials. People go their own ways. It's literally that simple. So the point is, you have to rationalize again, when that happens, this is traffic getting through your traffic that shouldn't be. That's what Trump should be fucking doing. That's what Elon Musk, the smartest man alive, should be doing. The guy that everybody thinks is the smartest guy alive. Why is he just randomly going through our government agencies and tearing them apart? Why isn't he focusing on the huge cybersecurity threat to our nation, where everybody else on the planet is that much more ahead than we are, and we look like a bunch of dumbasses? You know, Japan is worlds ahead of us. Yeah, good thing we get along with them. This is the point. China is getting ahead. So what the fuck is Elon Musk doing? Oh, that's right, distracting you with Doge. That's right, Doge everything. You love that term, don't you? You don't even know what it means. So, just remember, with them it's a TV show. They're celebrities. We want to capitalize. And Putin's the same thing. Putin was a low-level KGB agent that was asked to run for president. He was asked to. He didn't even want to, I think. He was asked to. He won. And then, because of a lot of other things going on, because of how bad Russia was at the time, if he had left his presidency, he would have been assassinated by the competition. So he started just doing that to them. That's it. So, like, you can sit there and rash and feel for him. Absolutely. But it doesn't mean what he did was right. Does that make sense? And it doesn't mean that he should remain president and keep doing these things in a modern world. Okay? So yeah, all right. For example, Thanos. Everybody uses the Thanos thing. Like you can sit here and be like, well, I can understand what Thanos is saying. Yeah, there's too much shit going on. It's chaos. Everybody fights all the time. People die. Half the world, half the universe gone. Problem solved. That's the, this what you have to realize is that the moment that you are the person making that decision, deciding for everybody, you're in the wrong. Because who gave you those keys? Did God come down and descend and say, do this? No. So that, essentially, what gives you the right to decide that for all of humanity? So this is what you have to rationalize. Is just, again, this is one guy coming up with the solution for all of humanity. And the solution is, doesn't matter who it is, randomly just half of all of civilization gone. Nah. No. We don't trade lives. I like the Steve Rogers thing. We don't trade lives. Like that. That's the point. That's how you think about that. That should always be how you think about that. Hope. Change. Future. That's it. Not, God, even as I'm sitting here, I smell the fumes. Not fossil fuels, not carbon emissions, not, why? Why is that a difficult concept? Why when I talk carbon emissions, people push some propaganda? Why when I discuss how, you hear it? Why when I discuss this, you push propaganda? Why is it that anytime Obama talked about gun regulation, somebody was like, oh, you took our guns! You took our guns! Nobody's taking your guns. One Democrat ever said that, and he was a dumbass. Yeah. And the point is, nobody's doing that. Nobody wants that. No, Democrats wouldn't want that. Nobody's suggesting that. Regulation means exactly that. When you legalize marijuana or a drug or something, there's little numbers on it. They tag it, they track it. The person driving's authorized by the regulations of the state, the yada yada yada, such and such. The point is, you have due process. You regulate so that it can be tracked. It has nothing to do with taking it away. It has everything to do with making sure you have it. So that way the criminals don't. Fuck. So why the hell do you think... Why do you think the Republicans have forever tried to convince you it was the other way around? Why? Why do you think this is? What stock do you think that they... Oh, that's right! Dick Cheney and all those Republicans made shitloads of money off gun running and creating wars. That's right, and reselling guns. Suddenly, we understand the war on drugs. Cheney and Republicans armed those people. And now all they're trying to do is forever cover it up so that you don't track the guns back to Dick Cheney. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Imagine what you can do and figure out when you stay informed. Isn't that amazing? You can actually follow something, create an entire investigation, figure things out. Isn't that amazing? That's the point. So, this is what they've been doing. Anything good that the Democrats ever did, all Republicans were ever doing was just nothing. And illegal shit. So, that's why... Well, not all of them. Not all of them. I'm just saying, the ones that had some, legal ground and some sort of position higher in government where they could do those things, like Cheney and stuff like that. And some of them would. So, all I'm saying is that the ones that were in government at the time that could And a lot of it was a generational thing, where the people were misinformed by the media, and now the you know, like, you're growing up into this and you're just convinced by your parents or something like that it's, you know, you vote Republican or you vote down, you know, like how many people they follow a sports team because their relative did or something like that. So this is the generational issue where the media and people are irresponsible. You're not doing it right. If you don't teach the next generation, you don't teach your kids that they can choose for themselves and that they shouldn't listen to you. They're allowed to choose. You know, I just can't even. You have to remember, like, I see these videos, like the video of, I remember watching this video, got a lot of hits of this, this dude uploaded a video. He was talking to his mom. I guess he voted for Trump or whatever, and she didn't. And it was very obvious that, like, this was like sort of a Karen situation, kind of, you know, she was gonna get upset. It was kind of obvious by his smirk and how it was going. It's like, yeah, all right, I'm here for this. So I'm watching, and he's like, yeah, how would you feel if I didn't, though? He's like, how would you feel if I just didn't, if I voted for Trump, you know? And she's like, but you wouldn't do that. And like, eventually I think she started crying and getting hysterical. This is the problem. This is the problem. It is not anything else except that. You know, you are their guide, their protector, their the person that, when everybody else is not somebody they can trust or rely on, you're gonna be that one they can go to for unbiased, critical guidance. And if you tell them vote Republican or vote Democrat, that's what they're gonna do. And don't do that. Don't let them decide, because you don't know what generations are going to do. You don't know whether or not maybe they went to school with somebody and they see that this somebody is now going into government, and they know that person's not necessarily great or something like that. Or maybe they're completely different, and they see something and they see they've changed or something, and they also want to go into government or something. The point is that they might see a generational change that this person doesn't see. And what you have to realize is that unless you're having that conversation and you're actually talking to them, and you're just dismissing and you're creating arguments, you're creating toxicity. And our city is not what you do. You talk. Yo, writing on the wall. Disorder. I mean, yeah, basically. That's kind of the point, you know? Like, we had so many examples, too, in music, you know, of what to do. Yeah, my generation, anyway, I should say. Mine. You know, we had so many people that were adults, very cultured, intelligent adults that were in the media speaking to us, reaching out, saying, hey, warning us, you know, hey, this is what's going on. Do this. So many. You know, Green Day was a perfect example of a music group that you know, over the years, is very clear they were trying to reach out in their lyrics to the next generation. And trust me, they did. You know, they you know, it's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, I see what you're saying, for sure. And this is how you relate to an artist and like that music, and then, you know, create your own too, and then find your place too. This is often how artists are born. And you know, like, arguably this is why I like Disturbed over the years more too, just because you know, as he continued to write, David Draymond, you know, with the lyrics, and then also the music and stuff coming from Disturbed, just fits so well, you know, over the years, everything going on, you know, like the song Open Your Eyes and things like that. The light got me through some stuff where it was like, you know, just you need reminders. It's not like you don't know these things in life. It's just that you need reminders of guidance of how to pick yourself up when you're misled, when propaganda steers you the wrong way. You know, that's what you got to do. And so, you know, inevitably, this is, you know, like that, like I said, inevitably you just talk politics. You end up you can't just sit and not talk politics. How can you do it in today's world, man? Everything's politics. I seriously considering taking my car somewhere else. You know, it's a shame. I'm seriously just considering taking my car like somewhere else too. You know, and like other stuff that goes on regularly. There's politics with that too. Like where, like, just because of the way somebody talks, you know, at a business or something, and like maybe they're a business owner of that business or something like that, and then like now they're talking politics, and you know, they'd be the type of person that like they would actually believe, you know, like some of these ridiculous things and stuff. You just start not believing in them and believing in their cause and their business and stuff like that. Like it's the sort of thing where, like, you start getting treated a certain way too, and you start to see it. You start to see that, like, people retaliate. You know, people, you know, they literally just retaliate. You see it. And it's the sort of thing where you have to separate yourself from that. That's an evil person. That's where you recognize that ain't politics. That person is using propaganda and politics for evil. It's just evil. And that's where you have to recognize that's who we got in charge right now. That's what he does. He uses the propaganda and the politics to create a problem so he can fix it. Can I be honest with you? I actually just watched a video, tons of views, millions of views, of it, how eloquently it explained how the U.S. has, for a very long time, been getting a way better deal than all the other countries as far as trade is concerned. We have been getting a better deal than anybody for decades. And Donald Trump used that and convinced all of you that we were actually being ripped off. And it was the other way around. And you believed him. And now he has ripped all of us off and fucked us. And now Europe has retaliated. This is what's happening. And probably for decades, maybe just for good, the United States will never, ever, ever have a quality import-export economy ever again because of Donald Trump. And again, that's where you start to realize that if he really did actually care about the country and knows all these things about business, he would know what he's doing. He would know these things. And I think he does. Knows what a joint venture is. Actually said that. We're going to do a joint venture, and, nobody's ever thought of it like that before, and, yeah, okay. So you have a term for this thing that nobody's ever thought of before. Oh, okay. Yeah. A joint venture. Yeah, nobody's ever thought of that. Because you have a term for that, and people have been using this for decades to do things. And, oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, like, this is how he talks. He just declares these things that aren't true. Like I said, essentially trying to make you think that he did them. Remember when he delayed the checks. He delayed the government checks that you were supposed to get during COVID for your stimulus payments, so that he could sign them and put his name on them to convince you that it came, so that way it has some sort of brainwashing effect, that when you see that, you see his name on it and you remember this, that when you think about the check and you think about the handout you were given from your government, you remember Donald Trump's name being on there. He actually delayed the checks to have that put on there. That really happened. Go look it up. Type like Donald Trump delays stimulus payment to sign checks or something. He really does these things. He creates a problem just to look like he did something. Like the border. That the border wasn't nearly as bad. Not nearly. Until he said there's a border crisis. Again, he's a billionaire. A billionaire tweeting anything is just affirmative action. It's literally just everybody will do that thing. This is why he affected the stock market. That's the point, is like billionaires tweeting, all they'd have to do is be The Rock. Well, The Rock too, because he has so many different organizations and stuff that he's part of and he owns. But like people like that, that's the point, is like, because they're so big and they're so much above everybody else in that country and stuff like that, just them tweeting something, everybody goes and does that thing. And so the company's stock just skyrockets. You're like, that's the point. Like, they just have those numbers. They can do that. This is why they can continue building, too. Because people rally behind them. It's why Mr. Beast keeps growing. I mean, I don't have anything against Mr. Beast. I'm just stating this is why, like, people that already have large organizations and, Dave Grohl said it best in Foo Fighters. He said it best when he said, they were taking a tour through like his little studio and stuff. They did some Foo Fighters albums there, and he was taking his tour in the storage unit, and he just had all these drums lined up, just a shitload of drums. Stuff he's like, looks like he's never even played. And somebody was asking about it, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of funny how, like, when you're struggling and you're trying to be a band, nobody's going to help you out. Nobody gives you anything. And then suddenly you're rich. Everybody just wants to give you things. And it's true. And that's the honest to God fucking truth. That's what's a shame about the world today. And this is the point, is everybody rallies behind these people they don't fucking know just because they think they're going to get a piece of it. That's it. They just think they're going to get, I get to be famous or meet Elon Musk or yada, yada, yada. Or be a part of history, owning a Tesla, or, just stuff like that. Just stuff like that. It sounds cool. That's what it is. It sounds cool, but it's not, doesn't really help anything. And so, that's That's what you have to realize is that's what people do, and yeah, like he said it perfect. You know, like that's exactly right. You know, like when you're struggling, when you're trying to build something, nobody helps you. It's exactly like with my channel. You know, we have all these people going out of the way to actually try to prevent me from growing and hurt me and troll. You know, like, you see that even with bands, where other bands trash other bands. And, I mean, jeez. You know, there's feuds, there's drama. It's ridiculous. So, the point is that, like, you know, you just have to realize that a lot of the time, whoever started that most likely was just doing it for attention, and then it just kept going. That's how basic that is. Can you hear me? It's like so loud during the day. What you have to realize is that whoever started that, it's literally just for attention. And that's why it started that way, and it just kept going. That's it. It's like Donald Trump running for president. It was literally a hoax. It was staging something. He didn't expect to win. And that was to promote his brand. He was being canceled. We booked a bunch of stuff, hired some actors. And then after he liked it, after he fell in love with the crowd's response, and it's true. He became so... Yeah, like, the point is, for a long time, people hated that guy. They're just trying to get a piece of him. Celebrities, even. They were just trying to get a piece of him. You know, like The Apprentice and stuff like that. You know, because the point was, it was very obvious that, like, he would just fire people for ratings. He didn't actually go on that show and do that show fairly. You watch the show, and you actually kind of notice that he would randomly fire people that were actually good and had really great ideas at various times, and he would fire them because that's the one guy you would think that he wouldn't fire. So he fires him for ratings. So you have to realize it's just a scam. It's one big scam. So, like, that's kind of what he spent his life doing, is stuff like that. And then ran for president. And the run for president was originally a scam too, but he went with it. Dog. So, yeah, I don't know. I just know, like, you guys gotta realize that remember, like I said, we've had a really fair deal for a very long time, and he knew that. Remember, anything I've told you guys, anything that he says, it's the opposite. Remember, I've said that before. So that like, you can literally just use that. That's how basic he is. That's how you know that's the point. So, yeah, like, even something as basic as everything we were just talking about, you know, it's complete opposite with him, where he'll just, you know, state that we're getting a really fair deal. Yeah, just like I said, guys, like, it's a fair deal. We're getting an unfair deal. Americans are getting an unfair. No, it was the other way around. So why is he stating that? Why would he try to sit here and convince to all of Americans that they're getting an unfair deal? and that they have been for a long time. Well, because they're getting a fair one. So he's trying to create a scam so you vote for him so that he handles it. It's just a scam. And it's played on your fears of the fact that you people that vote for him, I'm talking to you, anybody that votes for him, don't visit other countries. You don't leave the United States. You don't go to Europe. You don't go anywhere. You're not cultured. You have no fucking clue what this country is actually like. And then when you do, you see the examples of it. You see the entitlement get changed real fucking quick. You see like the jackass in North Korea sitting in there and gets like some sort of life sentence because again he can't act properly, and he's sitting there in a fucking what was it, like a little convenience store where you could sit down and eat, right? So he's sitting there acting like a douchebag in a convenience store in a country where like you don't have rights. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. So the point is you're gonna be real humbled real fucking quick. You go anywhere else. And this is the point. He knows that. It's happened to him. You know, just like you don't have to wonder why he shoves a bunch of guys out of the way to get in front for the picture. That's the point. All you have to deduce from that situation is that he felt the need to do that. So in the midst of other leaders at other countries, one of his first moments where he's photographed and he's filmed seeing there with them, he has a very weak moment where he very obviously tries to shove them out of the way to fix his suit and be in front of the picture. Because the point was, nobody was talking to him. That's what you need to rationalize. They were all having a conversation. He wasn't part of it. They had started to ignore him because he's a fucking douchebag. Because that's the point. The guy just talks about himself, and he just wants to talk about how he's doing such a great job, even though he isn't. And that's all he ever talks about, how he's doing a great job. And what did he do? So that's the point. Like, they just didn't want to fucking hear it. And so what you have to rationalize is at the point they took that picture, they were all talking, choosing not to talk to him. And as they were about to take the picture, he was all disgruntled and irritated. They weren't talking to him, so he shoved them out of the way and quick got in front of the picture and then stood there right as they took it. That's the point. They weren't talking. Literally, all you have to do is deduce human interaction. So, do it better. Do it better. I just, you know, you can sit here and, you know, like, I'll be honest with you guys, like, people sit here and talk to me about Biden and all that. And like literally the very second that I mention a single thing about Trump or something like that, all anybody wants to do is talk about the other guy. If that's all you ever want to do, you're not interested in having a debate. You're interested in being right. That's it. You are not interested in caring about the country. You are interested in being right. Stop. Don't do this with politics. It's not helping anybody. It's destroying your country, you, and everything that any of our forefathers fought for in any wars that we've ever fought. All you're doing is literally having zero integrity and zero honor. That's it. All you are interested in doing is being right. If all you've ever done, you know, like the point is you can't back up your candidate. You can't sit there and actually tell me anything that Donald Trump has actually done valid that makes him a quality candidate, that's valid. Again, if I can discredit it, like you say something that's not true and I discredit it, it's for the country, what's better for governing, what's better for this or that. You are interested in being right. That's it. That is a generational problem that I've seen, where, it's, these generational problems, by the way, they are real. You can notice them, but it's a generational problem because it's a generational problem with your education. So your education was this bad during this amount of time, thus we can see the results in that generation. They weren't educated, they were stupid about this. And we can see the dumbing down of politics. We can see how people aren't taught about economics. We can clearly see how people aren't taught about debating and current events and things like that. How to simply know how to do research and deduce fact and reporting from journalism. Essentially just not knowing how to do those things is a generational problem with your education. So, how do you not see that? Well, probably because your education wasn't great. Because you don't have that research. Essentially it wasn't taught to you, so you'll never even know that your education sucked. For example, why do I know certain things about my car, and essentially that, and like why somebody would be fooling with it or cause this, because essentially I have learned enough over the years, being resourceful and doing enough of my own work, that I have gotten enough knowledge to be able to tell if somebody's fucking with me or not. And so that's where you, again, this is called being resourceful. This is a skill. You either have it or you don't. Resourcefulness will get you through life and will always give you the right answer. This is what nobody has anymore. Almost nobody. Because it's not taught. Your parents just anymore give you an answer for things and say, this is the answer, do that. It shouldn't be the case. You should be taught resourcefulness, the ability to find the answer for yourself. That's what you should be taught. The ability to know, well, don't vote Democrat or Republican because I told you to. Go out and look for yourself and determine based on your life and your conditions and stuff who's saying things that make sense for you. I, for the life of me, haven't the slightest fucking clue why anybody would listen to anything Donald Trump says, since he doesn't fucking speak in truths. So anybody with half a brain should know that. And that's kind of the point, is that's where most of us with half a brain can deduce that people don't have half a brain anymore. This is the point. Is like, this guy gets ruled out 100% of the time by anybody that would know anything about political science. It is a science. It has a lot more to do with numbers and economics. It's governing, it's law. This is what these guys, your candidates go to school for, man. And that's why Obama was so good. He actually went to law school. That's why you actually had a good president. Obama went to law school, passed the bar exam. Yeah, that's why. He's highly educated, really smart guy. So he's able to do a lot. Yeah, with politicians, you have to. It's just like people. It really is just like with people.
It really is just like with people. You have to remember that, and that, they're, but obviously question everything, right? And everything. That's right in the lyrics. That was Warning, right? I think that was Warning. Who left a water bottle and some shoes? Okay. Yeah, so it's just like with people. If you hear something that sounds like a fact, sounds like it probably is, But like, again, if you hear going out of their way, they're going out of their way. We actually might have a little bit of a weaker connection here, but hopefully we can muddle through it. Like if you to be really loud about something and something really big, if sets of rules and stuff that they themselves, because of this, it might just the tone where we aren't segregated, we aren't separated. If it's togetherness, inviting, welcoming, that's the correct message. The one that isn't correct, the evil one, is the one that segregates, divides, causes wars, invites somebody that his people are dying, all his people are dying, and he's on his last leg, couldn't possibly hold out without our support. You invite him to the White House just to insult him to his face? And ask him why he didn't fucking wear a suit? That's evil. That's what evil looks like. What a disgusting, terrible, terrible man that does that. If Volodymyr Zelensky were at my house, I would sit there, make him a nice hot meal, treat him with respect and dignity, ask him if he needs a place to sleep, ask him if he's doing okay, if he needs to talk about anything. This man has nobody to talk to. Even his own sanity might be at stake. He's dealing with PTSD, war. And this guy is somehow holding it all together for his people. And our commander-in-chief insults him to his face and asks him why he doesn't wear a fucking suit. Meanwhile, parades around the richest man on the planet in the Oval Office while not wearing a suit all the time. Parades around one of the bummiest men on the planet I've ever seen, while complaining that Volodymyr Zelensky doesn't wear a fucking suit. Give me a break. Hello. So you have to recognize what evil is, what it actually is, what it looks like. Volodymyr Zelensky is a desperate man pleading for his country. That's it. And Donald Trump insulted him and kicked him out. Like, what did he even do? Why even have the meeting? Well, that's the point, just to do that. He's gonna kick the guy when he's down? I mean, God, jeez, you know, like, his country's already going through a war, and you're gonna kick him while he's down. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's the stuff of evil, man. That's the point. Like, Trump's just not a nice person. Hear the trees. If you're not used to the woods, it can be a bit jarring at first, but you will hear that sound if you hear the creaking. So yeah, like, you'll hear that if you actually are in the woods frequently. Trees creak. You just hear the wood, especially in the wintertime. The winter time is when you really hear it, because like that's the point. The whole tree is basically dead except for the trunk itself. Like, it's still alive, but its branches are dead. So like that's the point. Its roots stay alive in the ground as long as the ground stays pretty healthy. Which is why you can't have permafrost, obviously. That's the point. This is the basic concept people don't understand about global warming. You can't... So just like with an ice age, if you have an ice age where you have too much ice, nothing grows. You can't have any type of healthy, like it just constantly repeats itself. It just, you know, it just re-wins, basically, you know. It just gets back to its new happy sort of cold self. But, you know, just like with a healthy planet, like you have now, if you have enough ice caps, and you have enough of that, you know, you have the two polar ice caps, and you have enough of it, you can maintain a healthy environment because, you know, at the North and South Poles, you will have that healthy, you know, geological, Arctic circle, if you will, that helps, you know, keep the planet cool. It helps keep those fronts moving through, and helps keep the, you know, the fresh water, you know, the fresh rain, you know, essentially we're talking about glacier stuff that if it melts, you don't get it back. You know, like, this is the point. Like, you can't replace a glacier. You can't replace something that's been there for thousands of years and forming for thousands of years for a purpose. You know, the Earth did this for a reason. It was surviving. It needed that. So it created it out of survival. You know, just like your body might create this giant, you know, whopping big thing of white, pussy, nonsense, gross stuff to try to combat this infection that's attacking, you know, whatever it's attacking. And it may seem gross and stuff like that, but hey, it did the job, right? And then at the end of the day, you cleaned it all out and healed it back up, and it went back to a new happy medium. So the point is, if you do too much, just like that pus, just like your body will create a problem for you to get rid of that big issue that you're creating, the world will do the same thing. The world will create an ice age. The world will create some big global catastrophe to eradicate you. It will fight back. And, it's just a natural defense mechanism. Because it is alive. So you have to start treating the planet as if it's alive. And it is a living, breathing, really big person, maybe. I don't know. Like, people don't think about it like that. They don't care enough. And you should. It's where you live. You should take care of it. Like you would another person that you care about. Except, if something happens to our planet, there ain't nowhere else. So why are so many people like coveting things that don't matter and stuff like that when like they would utterly disregard the planet all the same, I don't understand. Like the Paris Peace Accord and stuff. Like, not understanding why you wouldn't sign on to that. Just not understanding, how much we pollute, and the impact that has. The whole point is that throughout history we've had scientists and other people do these things and regulate these things and find these things out at various times, specifically because we've had problems that we've had to address. So we've had those problems, and then we, figured these things out. We hired the best guys. We figured them out. And we're like, well, we got to do this. All right, let's do it. And those politicians did it, and they actually cared most of the time. I got news for you. It was the Democrats giving a shit. Because the point is, at the end of the day, even they don't want the earth to go anywhere. And they care about those things, and I think most rational people do. But the point is, the Republican Party really messed up big time, making themselves look bad. Because for a long time, the majority of the people, I think, were sort of kind of either really rich, wealthy Republicans in government that just kind of made decisions and didn't really proactively care or do much of anything to, note that those decisions had negative consequences, and stuff like that. And then the other half, were some of them were maybe good. They just have differences of opinions, and then it gets muddled down by the Democrats that necessarily don't necessarily have the best ideas, but they have some ideas, and they're the rich ones too. And so like you have bad apples on both sides, but like I've lived through it. I remember these things. I've lived through it, and I remember, jeez, I was alive when Clinton went on TV and said the hilarious statement he said about the Monica Lewinsky thing. Like, I was alive for that. And it was hilarious at the time. Like, even at the time, we thought, it was just obvious what he was saying was a prepared statement, and, he was kind of responding angrily. Wasn't a prepared statement, sorry. Yeah, he just kind of, answered, angrily. And so, that's the point, I lived through all that stuff. I saw it all, and I was able to kind of see what mattered and what people were freaking out about that didn't matter. And honestly, if Trump voters were alive during that time, they actually probably, I'll be honest with you, a lot of them would probably agree with Clinton on his policies. He really was the conservative politician doing conservative policies as the Democrat. And this is what made him a career. This is what made his career even. Okay, for example, I'll even tell you an example. My grandmother was very, when she was alive, she was very conservative. And I knew this. I don't know how she necessarily voted before him, but I just knew her to be a conservative. And she was absolutely, you're just agreeing. You know, like for example, if I didn't like Clinton now, or something like that, I would just say so. You know, I would actually have a reason. You know, but I've talked about the reasons why I do or don't like him, just as I've done with other politicians, and so that's where you have to sit and say, well, all right, he's being reasonable and rational because you mentioned the other side. Oh, he does it too. No. The moment you do that, you know, like, oh, my grandmother likes a Democrat or something. Oh, so you're a fan. Yeah, and so, like, that's what people will do is they'll use that propaganda to the Democrats. That is the exact scenario. Exactly, right there. That exact scenario. That's exactly what happens to the Democrats. Right there. Where essentially it's that invalid. Just happen to mention one little fucking yep, and we see that there's a transmission interruption where somebody wants to break up what I'm saying, because I'm making a lot of sense about politics and I'm informing you guys. So somewhere that's better too, for sure. Instead of being critical, they're being personal. That's where you have to rationalize. They're not helping. They're not there to debate. So that's, I mean, I'm sure you guys heard what I was saying. You heard a pretty perfect example there of exactly what the Republicans. We're gonna make a deal, and it's gonna be the best deal you've ever seen. It's gonna cover everybody, and it's gonna be cheap, and I'm like, okay, how are you going to actually do that realistically? Well, that Democrat never did anything realistically. Okay, but again, how are you going to realistically do it? You know, you're focusing on the wrong things. The Democrats are up to blah, 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 blah. Okay, again, Mr. Trump. Please answer my fucking question. I'm asking you a direct question about what you're going to do differently than the Democrats. Oh, here you go again. Wants to lie. So that's how it works. And then the Democrat actually will try to answer. Well, we have a plan where it's going to slash by 2%, this and that. We're going to go forward with that plan. We're going to try to anyway. It's going to be a Republican-controlled Congress, so we'll see what happens. You know, like, you'll actually get an answer. Trump, we're going to have a plan, and it's going to cover everybody. Don't you worry about that. We're going to work on something. And then he just doesn't fucking do it. He just, like, tries to pretend like he's doing anything. So this is the point. And thus here we are at a second term where this man has done basically nothing except destroy the country. Make Americans desperate again. Make Americans desperate again. That's what it should have been called. Yep, make Americans desperate again. It should have been called that. Can we just can we like elect somebody that isn't a fucking moron? Please. Can we just do that? That'd be great. let you guys know, like, essentially, like, getting out here, getting on stream, you know, like, doing my regular thing. Like, it's very obvious that the powers that be, the algorithm, every little tiny facet of everything is politics anymore. So just remember to, you know, like, if you're, again, like I said, in other countries and stuff, yeah, like, is Trump gonna invade another country or something like that? Probably not, because he's not gonna, like he'll get hard removed from office. To be honest with you, our president choosing to have a response where everybody on the planet is fully aware that he will answer with military force, all that's doing is telling any enemy around the world that you will respond with military force if this happens. So if they wanted to, I don't know, attack the U.S. and create some sort of coup or something like that, in the president's position that would do that, that would align with those beliefs, regardless of how ridiculous that sounds, that would at convenient times do things regardless of the national security risks that it imposes. Why do we have a connection error when I'm very clearly talking about how Donald Trump very obviously is that guy? Why are we having a connection error? Who would actually sit here and break up free speech and possibly be charged with acts of terror if it's traced back to you? Remember, we have freedom of speech in this country. We have freedom of information, freedom of the press, freedom of speech. So if you're sitting here kind of like breaking up what I'm saying and causing an interruption and stuff like that, while I'm informing the public of a possible coup d'etat from within, you are actually committing an act of terror against the United States of America. Because all I'm doing is informing the public of what I see, and this is the purpose of this. So that smart people can do what they're supposed to do, to inform the public. So again, when you put a guy in that position that tells exactly what he's going to do, he gives an answer. He tells everybody around the planet, this is the enemy, a way to attack. And is the dumbest fucking person on the planet. Yep. If he actually cared about us, that's why he's the dumbest person on the planet. Russian community. That Trump owes Putin shitloads of money. He's got a Russian wife, right? He's owed Putin money for decades. Constantly doing things that nobody ever would do. Even other Republican presidents would never do. Like backing out of NATO. Nobody would do that. Stuff. So creating this trade war and stuff created an intentional thing that gave Russia for decades, and Trump gave it to him. Union reformed. You know, I gotta be honest with you, while it's happening, you're the guilty party. Like, anybody's gonna know it's you. You're still in here while that's all shifting around. Yeah, so like anybody that's in here wondering, d'etat operation, the person still said, and I have news for you guys, it's the person that's not actually anything else. Yep, it's literally just him with doing this with my data. So again, he's actually just sitting in here while he's doing. And I do believe this guy is a hired terrorist. Meanwhile, there's a very serious case going on right now. And he's interfering with my data. While all this is being investigated. Oh yeah, I got full signal. Yeah, it ain't my signal. He's just shifting it around to kick people out of the stream. So we'll have this investigated. We'll have the trackers investigated on this one. I've been working with somebody lately that can look into trackers and stuff. He says it's actually not illegal to do that, so he's going to look into this guy, I guess, because I think it's actually, I think it's truthfully politically motivated. And, again, he's actually said this at various times, too. And if that's the case, if you're stalking and harassing somebody because of various political motivations, it's a terrorist attack. You're actually committing acts of terror and harassing civilian. It's literally the definition. I mean, stalking and harassment's already illegal in every state, but stalking and harassment is already illegal in every state. So, I mean, he's already going to go to jail for a really long time once the investigation's over, but I think that's probably what's taking so long, is they are trying to sit here and investigate and figure out if it's politically motivated, and it's a much bigger, wider range with that because there's usually more people involved. Like somebody hired him, that sort of thing. So you have to realize that they're probably just taking a while to make sure they look at all of it and the whole scope of it, essentially, because there's just so many times where conveniently we're having a political discussion. There's really no reason for my service to be cutting out some of the most reliable service on the planet, and full service using a really low bit rate, and then they're just pushing data to try to make the device have malfunctions and stuff so that they can sit here and try to make it seem like it's not something they're doing. So basically all around this happening, they sit here and they push data so that I get all these warnings all the time. And so that's how I know it's full of shit. So basically as I sit here and I talk about certain things and I put pressure on them, they change what they're doing. So like like he was shifting the bit rate around. Now what he's doing is he's pushing data to try to change the consistency of the stream so that way it uses too much, and then that way it gets too hot, and actually it's literally as I say things, he just changes what he's doing to adjust so that way, the people that are so like I'll say he's shifting the bit rate around, so then it goes from shifting the bit rate around to causing a problem for like it doesn't actually do that. And then he just goes back to, actually if I start talking about it again, then he just starts pushing. Happens. I mean, they can see that anytime I get an error message. So like I've actually had, they call it, I forget what they call it, but I've been working with somebody where all they do is they put a thing on my screen where it's capturing anything that happens. And it's actually, so what we've learned is essentially what this means is that this person is a pen tester, but he's sitting here and harassing people instead of actually using it for things he's supposed to. So that's basically all it seems that we've found out, is essentially this guy is actually, he has these abilities, but instead of using them for what he's supposed to, he's just like kind of like put like some sort of thing that records everything that happens, or like it's essentially just seeing everything on the screen, so that way he can't like how he's like deleting messages later for chat and stuff so that YouTube can't trace it back or whatever, a weak signal or something like that. It's actually gonna show that. It's actually gonna show, and it's gonna show when I drag down to look at the top and I have full service, and then you can easily see that it has nothing to do with my service, that it's literally just going to be very easy to see that he's just intentionally pushing a lot of data so that it then causes that issue. Like it's not an issue, but he pushes a shitload of data, so it causes the issue. Yeah, it's like the point is he's causing all the problems with it. They don't know how to deal with those problems, and they just have them. If that makes sense. He's causing those issues that other people would normally have, because like other people are like on their network or something and using the network, pulling bandwidth and shit like that. And he's causing those issues for me, where essentially, like it's just be like a normal basic troubleshooting thing where it's like, well, you just get off the thing on the other, like on the network that's pulling the bandwidth so that the other thing, has correct permissions and stuff like that. So like basically all he's doing at various times is fucking with permissions, pulling too much data, and heating up the device so that it malfunctions. And then we see that too. My screen is being recorded too. So like we see that where like he pushes all this data, and then suddenly all these alerts that were being held and viewed by him are suddenly pushed through. Like he's viewing all of my data. He can see any alert that I'm supposed to get. Yeah, like that's the point. Like there'll be various times where I don't get alerts or text messages for like an entire day. Whole day goes by, I get nothing. Now, if I would look at that, I would see it. But I won't get any alerts, and then like the next day, I'll wake up or something like that. Like I'll check my phone, and it'll just be literally non-stop. Almost like he actually slept, almost like he went to sleep and his bots, did their thing or something like that, and it finally cleared it out. And I get an entire day's worth of all these alerts from all of the different things throughout the day prior that I didn't get. And then I just all of a sudden get it all at once. Text messages, data alerts from various news media outlets, things like that. Like he is just obtaining data illegally, but that's what he's doing. And I've been saying this for years. You know, like again, like as I'm standing here and talking about this stuff, he pushes data to make my device use more juice than it's supposed to. You know, essentially just use more. So that way it mistakenly uses more, drains the battery, or yada yada yada. This has happened on many. This is exactly what he's doing for the streaming software. It's the same shit. Where the stream software pulls too much, and it's the same scam, except the point is that people have been doing this to scam streamers. So this is a scam. Whoever told the streamers they needed to have 2 computers is running this scam. They're the scammers. And this is why you have a lot of people in the industry trying to run the scam, where they actually think that you can't efficiently do a stream. No, I've been doing it for years. That's the point. This guy realized he's looking pretty fucking guilty pretty soon unless he starts really fucking with my shit. So he did. He started really fucking with my shit. For years, because for years I was proving that I could stream at 1440p, no problem. And I have been for years. 8-hour streams, 10-hour streams, 6-hour streams, didn't matter. And then all of a sudden, conveniently around this Trump thing, conveniently around all this, when he finds out my name, he finds out this information about the, conveniently around all this, we have all these interruptions. Stream starts disconnecting, things like that. Conveniently all around him stalking and doxing my family. Gee, I wonder what's happening. So, you know, the point is, they're just pushing data to cause a problem for my device. Ping my location, that sort of thing. Causes problems. And they just learn something new because I talk about it. I say, well, now the device is doing this. Well, that's the point. That's how they've learned. So this is my point. Anybody that knows about these things, that knows, you know, like, who's telling you need two PCs for that? And then at the same time, they're telling you that, and they clearly don't know what they're talking about, or if they do, no, they don't. And so, like, the point is, who's telling you that, and why are they trying to push this? Because they've always done it that way? So then we start to see the generational problem where people just can't admit they're fucking wrong. They are literally pushing this whole idea on you just because they've been doing it that way for X amount of time, and they couldn't possibly be wrong. They couldn't have possibly spent $3,000 on a computer and didn't need to. They couldn't possibly have been wrong. Yes, they were. That's the point. Look into clocking CPUs not using Intel, because Intel doesn't clock properly with NVIDIA. That's what nobody will tell you. Yeah, that's it. It's that simple. Intel does not clock properly with NVIDIA. So therefore, that's why you're getting much better NVIDIA. Period. End of discussion. You look at the numbers, it's just wrong. Because people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They're doing these benchmarks and they're just doing them wrong. Okay? Also look into setting voltages and things like that. Okay? Remember your knowledge of electricity and what everything's running at, what your juice, what power supply you got, how much juice do you got, can you handle it, are your voltages high or low, and if they're high or low, what does that do? Does setting them lower create more efficiency for your CPU? So the point is, if you're not a moron, and you just look these things up, and you just start playing around with them, you might be, you might figure something out. Don't fucking sit there and jack your CPU up through the roof and think that that can do that. No, like, they're overclocking their CPU. Like, why are you doing that? Stop fucking turning on every damn fucking setting in a game and thinking that you can do that. You just can't do it. And plus, your video card does those settings half the time. You know, like, this is the point. I came on this platform explaining game settings to people that have been doing this for years that don't even know how to set their games. This is the point. Everybody's... And then we got streamers who run a game at high settings and that it takes a supercomputer to do that or something like that. Yeah, you're conveniently interrupting what I'm saying right as I say that. Yeah, it takes a supercomputer to run a game at high settings is what he's claiming. And so, like, when basically every single stream for the past several years, I have been running games at high settings, every single fucking stream, making a liar out of this guy, you can clearly see, and this is the guy that's like the self-proclaimed, game critic and stuff. So this is where I'm coming from, is essentially you have to realize who's a goddamn clown and who's on here because they give a shit about factual information. That guy's a clown. He's on here to be a clown. That's fine. Stay out of my lane. Yeah, he tells me to stay in my lane. No, he's going into my lane. He's trying to be a game critic. You're not a game critic, douchebag. Yeah, you're not a fucking game critic, douchebag. You're just a douchebag. You don't even play games. You just stand there and run around and then say that there's nothing to do. Endlessly fucking get clickbait off of GTA 6. So, again, the point is... you have people like this claiming ridiculous, stupid shit that people easily prove wrong because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because for years, they just played console games, they don't know anything about PC, and they just grew up wanting to be famous and wanting to have a voice. Okay, great. You're a clown then. Stop dampering those of us who actually know what we're talking about because you're not helping gaming by what you're doing. I will. Criticisms. Again, like this is the difference between politics and people that know what they're talking about too. It's the same fucking thing. It's literally the same thing. It's just the measure of the man, the measure of the individual. The desire to want to be actually correct about what you're talking about instead of just talking out your ass. So, yeah, I mean, is it entertaining? Sure. Is this content entertaining? Yeah, for sure. I think it's super funny. I laugh at it and I watch it, not all the time, but once in a while. Because it's funny. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to hang on to every word he says and think he's actually a game critic. Stop living in some goddamn fantasy world. Like, just stop already. You want to know the honest truth about high frame rates? I'll tell you the honest truth, and this is the point. This is why people are irritated. Is because I speak the truth, and they don't know any better. They think it's because I have valid claims, and then I see other people making the claims after me, and they get shitloads of views. And then I made that claim first, and then conveniently I see this person's channel, I see the video after I've made the claim. The algorithm took me there to show me that. Thus, I've come to the conclusion that plenty of people on this platform watch my content, try to silence what I'm saying, just so that they can sit there and mine the content for their own viewers. Because the point is, people do listen to what I say. And so we have all these content creators on here constantly running scam after scam after scam after scam. The fucking copyright scams are insane. They run copyright scams on this platform all the time to get creators problems and stuff, because YouTube just does not run their own platform. They don't do anything. It's run by bots all day long. YouTube does nothing. They don't monitor, they don't pay attention all day. A whole platform. This is why people can like blow their brains out on live stream and stuff like that. This is why. This is why we have things like that happening. Unbelievable. The fact that that can even happen, too. It's just unbelievable. So, yeah, there's my spiel. Is it politicians? Is it media? Is it gamers? Is it streamers? All of the above. It's everybody. No, everybody knows how to do these things. I've said this before. It's trolling. That's why, like, the certain people that, like, know what's going on and stuff, their message, that literally all they do to help is to say that the trolling on this platform needs to... yeah, conveniently as I say that, transmission unstable, go fuck yourself. Yeah, and then we got one concurrent sitting in the stream when that shit happens. Conveniently. So how many years am I going to say the same thing, and this platform literally just looks like a heaping ball of fucking shit? How many years am I going to say the same thing, and this platform looks really irresponsible, just looks really unsafe, really insecure, for just years? I'm saying the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, literally somebody can just sit there and spam my fucking chat with my real name and address daily.